This is Driving Forward. I'm David Williams, and tonight I'm joined by Brendan Horan, who is Managing Director for Mix Telematics, to talk about ways to grow the transport sector and how his company works within that. Evening to you, Brendan. Let's look at growth first. Let's look at the big picture. All businesses have to operate in, obviously, an economy. And I'm sensing that of all the sectors, transport is more closely correlated to GDP than the others. Is that right? And what's happening in the sector?
Well, David, I'm one of those guys who don't complain about the traffic and busy roads, because I think it's a great indicator of what's happening in our economy. And I'm certainly one of those people when we go to the shops to see what's being delivered and what's being dropped off. But I think certainly, we are in a phase where economic growth is stifled at the moment. But the transport sector still moves the food. It still moves, in the retail environment. Even in periods of contraction, the world has to go on and people have to eat, be out there, entertain themselves and do things. So for us as a business, I think, we aren't seeing major upsizing in terms of fleets, significant growth, but where we come into play is we like to provide efficiency to those customers.
With you, it's software, it's computers, it's satellite technology and so on. And even if there's no growth, you can help people do things quicker, smarter, faster, and all that kind of thing. What's the next big, or what's the most recent innovation that you've been working with?
Yeah, so I think one of our core values is this whole encourage innovation, and I think we come from sort of call it a retail-based tracking device kind of environment, and really our focus now is on software efficiency. And I think where we are seeing the big demand is in optimization. So how do you give that company the additional competitive advantage?
Give us an example of a technology where that happens.
So we provide a software package which basically monitors a planned route versus an actual route, and really gives a company the ability to, almost like a financial accountant comparing planned versus actual results, in a way to do that in the transport sector as well. So is the route you're being planned adhered to? And then from there we do couple additional facets to that, like fuel management. So does it all line up? Is your efficiency good? Are you using the right amount of fuel? And then that all leads on to fleet utilization. So are your 100 trucks, is that the right number? Could you have 90? And I mean, these are big items that guys carry on their balance sheet. So really, that's really where we're placing a lot of focus and trying to build a lot of intelligence into our software.
Now, what about the guy who says, okay, I've got your system and it works fine for me, but you've got refinements all the time. So you have to be careful that you're not constantly updating, so that the guy's saying, hey, you've just sold me a system, now you want another one.
No, true. So we, I think certainly our business took a cloud and a hosted approach many years ago. So our updates and changes generally deployed to the customer without us having to arrive and load up software or change a server or do anything on premise. It's all cloud based. So those updates they generally receive. But your point is true. We try to start small with a customer and look for quick wins, and then we try to build out the additional disciplines as we nail down the core functions that we can get right.
And I suppose you get your credibility because you prove yourself with core function, and then you build on that, like a lot of products.
Absolutely. So we try and produce a tangible return on investment with our sort of base services, and then we try and add additional services to the customer.
Let's talk about crime. It's a thing that preoccupies South Africans rightly. Yes, fleet efficiencies, doing things better and so on. I want to know why, if this technology is available, why we still have thefts of trucks. Surely it's possible now to monitor every single truck wherever it is, and as soon as there's a departure from the norm, that can be identified and they can be swooped on.
So I think it's all around adoption. So we run what we like to think is a very holistic approach to security. It's not all of the trucking customers we have, but certainly with a significant portion, where we holistically look at things around jamming detection, around managing the driver. But these services come at a cost. We run a control room with highly trained people who are monitoring those vehicles on exceptions, and those need to be constantly updated, constantly refined, and we're constantly refining our algorithms. But we take a holistic approach to this. We try and manage driver safety with security at the same time to make the package deal that the customer gets that much better. But we're under pressure. It would be lovely. I'd be sitting here smiling even more than I am if everyone adopted our service. But there is always this standoff where a customer, either they don't experience a theft or a hijack, and then when they do, it's suddenly, well, we need this, and then there's a bit of a lull period again. And so it's not always as free-flowing as you expect, that the adoption is right there.
But we are at the point technically where every single truck on the road could be monitored and tracked.
Absolutely. So we are at a point, and I think that adoption is starting to be picked up, is picking up more and more. So absolutely it can be done.
What's the next big stage in this development?
Yeah, I think where the market's going is, I think we've provided software services that users certainly interpret. So the information coming out is subject to interpretation. I think the next level is as we start to move forward, is to build actionable intelligence, and then even intelligent action into the software. So actually taking the decision or prompting a decision for you. So we're certainly moving that way and working towards moving that way, where with business intelligence tools and the ability to consolidate bigger amounts of data and provide more information now, we can certainly get to a stage where we're putting a quicker decision in the customer's hands, as opposed to going through reams and reams and reams of data trying to make sense of it.
Yeah. So I understand this technology can tell how fast a truck is going. That's one of the things Absolutely. You can do. What about overloading? That's another one. So, I mean, overloading on our roads is bad. We have one of the highest axle loadings in the world, and the guys exceed it. Can you help enforce overloading prevention?
Yeah, so I think you've got the legislative side of the country, and you've got the sort of the good corporate citizen governance side, and I must say there are a lot of trucking companies that really embrace world-class sort of principles and world-class practices. So they do monitor those things. There is technology available which we are able to integrate into, which can tell us the load that's being carried, but you still need that physical will of a human to say, well, don't overload it then. Or I've been told that it's overloaded, I mustn't overload it. And so, there has to be a willingness. I think there has to be legislative and legal push to make sure people are almost in a way forced to be compliant, and then there's got to be that feeling that people want this to be done, be it for safer roads, be it just because it's the right thing to do. So, but technologically we can provide the information, it is available. All of these little add-ons we talk about do come at a cost, and we have customers who invest heavily in all this technology, others who don't. So it's just one of those phases I guess we've got to go through in the evolution of our industry.
And one day everyone will have it, but you are still obviously a long way to go to get
I certainly hope so.
I often, when I hear on the radio that there's a big blockage of the traffic on the motorway, and someone says, a lorry has lost its load, as though that happens to lorries. Well, it's not. It's negligence by someone. Either the driver's going too fast, or the load hasn't properly been secured or packed or loaded and so on. Is that something you could help with? The sort of forensics of a major accident. You could say, well, we can see why this happened.
Yes, so I mean, that's actually been part of our DNA and makeup since right at the start, 15, almost 20 years ago. We do accident analysis, and over time we've added more and more ways of looking at this. We have an integrated camera system, so you can get in-cab and external visual footage, which is really adding...
Like the black box on the airplane.
Absolutely. A picture tells 1,000 words, and it's really taught us a lot. We also, our software can assist in managing, fatigue. So the two major issues in accidents are generally distraction and fatigue. And I think we generally... We can, overspeeding is another one, but the reality is our software can give us that intelligence. We can then feed that back, but it is down to training that person behind the wheel, making sure they've either slept properly, they've had the right night's sleep, they've got the right nutrition, they're in the right shape to be getting behind the wheel, they're concentrating properly. Those are all the simple principles that even us as consumers have to abide to when we're driving.
And of course, as you say, you can't do this for the companies. They have to have the will themselves as well.
Yes.
Otherwise, technology is not going to work.
So we do have, as I mentioned earlier, our outsourced security service, which is very high end. We do real-time driver management. So whilst we are monitoring that vehicle for jamming detection, for theft, for our sort of incidents that we determine to be a security-related incident, we are also monitoring that driver. So in other words, we do set overspeeding, we do look at harsh braking and acceleration, and we work on a little bit of a baseball theory. We phone the driver twice, 3 strikes, you're out, we escalate to a manager. So we do apply that technology in our environment. It is... we'd like it to proliferate more, and I think it's a nice feel-good story to make sure that fleets are being run properly. Also, the outsourced service breaks up it adds to that segregation of duties within the customer. You know, often the guy driving to work on the bus is the same guy, you know, sitting next to the guy in the control room. We do provide that little bit of independence where it's a third party actually monitoring your staff member and feeding back to you.
It sounds that it could work extraordinarily well. Do you work with the law enforcement guys? Is there a kind of formal or informal partnership there? Because obviously they can use your help.
So not on the driver behavior side, but certainly when it comes to the security incidents, they're very much assisting and working with us. You know, often in a recovery incident, we need the help of the SAPs. We've got our own private security that we use. So it is a collaboration, and it's a very important collaboration.
And what about the ordinary guy with a vehicle that wants support? So what you would call the retail customer, not the big companies with the big trucks, me and my motor car.
So retail customers still keep us very busy, you know, and I think what's nice is that a lot of the innovation from our retail individuals went up into fleet management. A lot of that stuff we're learning is coming back down. So we do provide personal safety and security services for individuals. A lot of people will talk about sort of that entry-level tracking device where it's purely asset tracking, and that's often related to insurance-related risk or self-insurance-related risk. They just want the asset back. Then it does step up to, you know, the concerned parent, the concerned individual, where my kids, and very simply from a mobile phone or through setting up some basic configurations, we are able to manage that personal safety better than if you didn't have the device. Be it going into unsafe areas, be it panic facilities, those kind of things.
Sounds fantastic. It's just a question of whether you can pay for it and whether you want it. But
Absolutely.
It's available. Thanks to my guest, Brendan Horan, who is Managing Director for Mix Telematics. Until the next driving forward, keep trucking.